I'm going to turn this over to Jamie now because she got some questions for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say, just this conversation has gone to such a wonderful place, really emphasizing and going back to what Nadia was saying and what all of you have been saying about really looking at your audience, really looking at who this is for and how you will best serve that audience. And so that's really what my next question is. And we've touched on this a lot already, but just to get into more detail, who is TSTM Essentials for? Who is that audience?
So we've basically defined our audience as anyone who's practicing in the field. It's pretty broad. But if you are working in the field as an educator, as an instructor or a tutor, it is possible to adapt TSTM and particularly the TSTM Essentials content to fit just about any instructional context. We're working on some of the things about project-based for those of our practitioners who don't work with groups of students. But apart from that, there's a lot that can be incorporated there. And the 9 central skills are a really good example because that's like looking at the types of skills that are often classified as soft skills. All of our learners and most of the adults in the world could use some practice with those. Communication's a good example. I mean, don't we all know that we have areas of our communication that we could work on? So that's one of the things you're bringing to the classroom. The other thing is for the program leaders, those would be our coordinators or possibly directors. We have had program leaders participate in the past, and where I would recommend the essentials content for you would be if you are thinking about designing your own professional learning sessions for your staff, and particularly if you're focusing on either curriculum or instructional methods, there's a lot in TSTM that can be useful. And I encourage you to try out one of the workshops and have the experience and see if that's something that you would like to encourage your instructors to be using in the program.
I really love that you pointed that out, Rebecca, for program leaders, specifically for coordinators or curriculum developers within programs, because as a former program director, I think that it's very important to know and understand what your instructors are learning, what skills, what tools they have, and being a part of that. So it's really great that TSTM Essentials is also for those roles, for the leaders that are not necessarily, although they might be, but not necessarily directly teaching the students. And I agree, we're all adult learners and we can all benefit from those skills. So, that's really wonderful. Did anybody else have anything to add to that?
We should just give a shout out to Bill. He has been part of this for a while, even though he's not anymore because he kind of retired, but he did do a lot of work and helped develop a lot of this. So
and who is Bill exactly? His last name.
Bill Ladke. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and he just recently retired off of our team, but as Nina said, he was also a huge part of our redesign, and we are very grateful for his contributions.
Absolutely. So what drives you guys? Like, who are you as a practitioner in this TSTM Essential? What are your goals? What are your values?
I think, because what I was going to say is, we have a really strong leader, and Rebecca has done amazing things, her drive and her passion to really see TSTM be something living. And we could have definitely just kept going with the same old, this is exactly how they taught us. So we're just going to keep on going and keep on trucking along, just like we always have. But Rebecca definitely has this vision of keeping this system moving and engaged and living. And if something doesn't work, then, hey, you know what? We can throw it out and try again. Or maybe, hey, let's not throw it all the way out. And so I think our team together really has strong leadership. And I really appreciate Rebecca because Rebecca is also the one that kind of keeps me inspired to keep going. And I know we've had this conversation several times where I'm like, Rebecca, I'm just not so sure about this. But as far as my drive for TSTM is, I have a very unique position of being both like a consultant for Propel and doing the TSTM stuff, and also working within my program. And I'm able to really help see how this works at an instructor level and then as a program level, how it can change a program and how it can really work at different levels. This isn't just something that, we tend to like separate, the HSE to the ESL and then lower and higher and I don't know, left and right, offsites, in person, all of the terms that come with AV instruction. And so it really is very inspirational to see that this is something that can work across any sort of platform, any sort of situation, because it gets to the root of how to bring instruction. It's not just like, here's another PD opportunity. This is actually something that's going to go beyond just that sitting, like Nina said, we're not just sitting in a PD and like getting boggled with all kinds of information. We're actually able to give something to practitioners to say, here's something to help improve your sanity, like to help you stay on track and help build something else. And it's really fun when we hear of participants who have been in our program that are now going and doing their own presentations, and they're seeing their classrooms grow and just seeing that movement of something. It's more than just a professional development opportunity. This is really something to change everybody's practice and how they are bringing their classrooms and how they are working with other people to expand their program. And that's one of the things that I love about TSTM and our wonderful leader, Rebecca. We would be nowhere without Rebecca, just saying.
Strong leadership really is sometimes undervalued as a skill set. That was really well put, Mariah. Thank you for sharing. I feel like I got to know you a little better just from hearing your passion for this project.
Definitely.
I've been on this project since, we started. And so I've gotten to know Rebecca, as a participant, as a practitioner, and then seeing her really take charge and just run with the TSTM project, and everything that she does is always intentional and there's always a meaning behind it. And that's something that's very important that I feel without that, I don't really know where TSTM would be. I kind of feel like it would have fallen off the back burner, and it was like, oh, well, it was a project that we've done before. We can all say that about some sort of professional development that we have is, oh, once upon a time we did that and it was really interesting, but it just kind of fell away. But there is something to say about the strong leadership that we have in TSTM, because it's made me want to continue to be here. It's made me have that drive and passion to say, you know what? I need to try something different. I need to explore. I need to do a little bit more, not always because I want to, because I really don't want to half the time, but it's just because I know it's going to impact someone else and I know it's going to help someone else become a better practitioner. And I really do appreciate that about our whole team. There is just something about our team being a very introverted person. And I know, as you can tell how much I'm talking, that I'm super introverted and I don't like to be in the spotlight, but it's just one of those things that our group is so functional. It's almost unreal. And I say this to a lot of people. I'm like, I've not had a time where I absolutely just hated, like, oh, I have to go there. I have to do this. TSTM really is a group, and it's a functioning group, and it works. I mean, we're like, I will say it, like, I get on people's nerves and I know people get on my nerves and I'm like, oh, it just happens, but we are able to work through it. And I think that's what has helped make us successful is we are working together for the good of everyone, not just what works for us and what works within our schedule and what works, however we want to. We're really looking, and we have that drive among us all. I love working with Nina. Nina has been inspirational. Like, she comes out with some of the craziest ideas that I'm like, oh my gosh, where did you pull that out of? Because my brain does not work like that at all. And then just seeing her work with different people and how she coaches and just that connection that she's able to bring to the field. And then watching Rebecca really come in and be that leader that we all need to make sure that we're all on the same page and just kind of round us up together. It just works for us. And I love that we have this team that is looking to change and improve adult education. We're not here just to do whatever we want. We're here to make sure that there's a change in adult education.
Mara, I think in all the years I've known you as an acquaintance, I don't think I've ever heard you speak this much. So it really says something about your passion and dedication, and it's wonderful. And Rebecca and Nina, good luck following that up. I'm just kidding, guys. Everything is
no. You're right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love that. I love that you guys are like stoked about whatever like wild ideas I throw out there. Like, okay, we're not using every single idea, but I like that you guys are pretty fluid and like creative about things. Like, sure, why not? Let's talk about, here's this idea. Like, I think with our problem-based workshop that was about IETs and problems and challenges in IET classes, I think I did say like, this might be a really crazy or stupid idea, but what if we did this? And then they were like, oh yeah, let's try that, or let's actually consider that seriously. I like that. I like that I can actually do that in our team, you know? So yeah, I think that says a lot about maybe psychological safety would be kind of part of that, and just creativity, and there's a certain level of like, comfort, I think. So thanks, Mariah, for saying all that.
That's exactly it. Yeah, psychological safety, a respect for out there ideas, a respect for that creativity, and they take you seriously. I think those are all really important skills that are vital to working as a team. Rebecca, do you have anything to say about like who you are as a practitioner and why you do this work?
Okay, who I am. First of all, I just want to say, thank you. It was very humbling to hear what you guys had to say. I guess when I think about my participation in TSTM, I'm going to go back to the beginning and why it was that like I applied to be part of the state team when we were looking to join the national cohort. And what appealed to me was the aspect of instructional coaching, because what instructional coaching is when your coach, either via an actual observation or via kind of a talk through protocol of an observation where you have a conversation about the class that you're teaching, actually talks to you about your practice. And I thought, as someone, I'm an ESL instructor, and I've spent a number of years in the field, but I've often worked in large programs. And so it's hard to get a lot of one-on-one feedback for instructors in large programs. And that idea of working with a coach and having someone say, hey, this is what's good about your teaching, and these are some things that maybe you should consider. I loved it. And I'm so excited that we're keeping that component as an option for participants in TSTM Essentials, so that people can have that opportunity to be in just a really small, almost intimate group with a couple of teachers and a coach, talking about your teaching practice, reflecting on your teaching practice, having someone ask you questions about it. And so that's like something that really drives me, is because instructional coaching is like a big component in K-12 professional development, but we have never had the luxury of time or money for it. And so TSTM is like a little way to sneak it into our field, especially here in New Mexico, and give people that opportunity to think about their teaching practice in that way. So that is one of my big drivers in this project. The other, of course, as Nina and Mariah have mentioned, and we're missing Bill, but we do have a really, really great team with some incredible creativity and some incredible hard work. I'm really appreciative of and inspired by the level of commitment that all of our teammates bring to this project for New Mexico's instructors, not for our own egos, I promise you.
I mean, it helps the ego, definitely. But I love that you brought that up, the instructional coaching, and why that's something that we don't quite get in our field of adult ed. It really is important. It's important to reflect on your own practice. I think that generally goes for anyone in a professional field. If you don't get that time to reflect on your practice, to bounce off of someone else that can support you, sometimes there's only so much you can grow. And I think like taking this project helps in that, taking our field seriously. And I'm not saying that our field is necessarily unserious, but like really thinking about us as professionals, right? As teachers, as professionals that have this capacity to grow and be able to transform their practice and be given that opportunity is really wonderful.
So now that we've really gotten everybody stoked for TSTM, I know I am, and so I'm sure that our listeners are too, how can someone participate in the TSTM Essentials activities?
So your first step is to come to one of the next workshops that we'll be offering. We are going to have hopefully topics workshops. I say hopefully because we have to get accepted at the Virtual Teachers Institute. And then at the In-Person Teachers Institute coming in the fall, we'll be offering project-based learning workshop. And so there's your first step, is that you come to the workshop, learn about it, and then we will offer you the next steps that come after that.
And for that in-person workshop, anybody can participate in it. It's not like you can only participate if you're signing up for the cohort. Anyone can participate in it. And it has the added benefit of, if you attend that workshop and then you decide you do want to be part of the cohort, then you've already done part of it. You've already attended the project-based workshop. So it works, you know. It's kind of like, all right, you've already done it. You know, you've already kind of dipped your toes in the water or whatever, and then you've already kind of hit the ground running. You've done this workshop and you want to continue and be part of the cohort. Awesome. Keep going, you know. So
I'm really, looking forward to having these offered at the Adult Educators Institutes that are coming up. So yeah, I hope that everybody that's listening will keep an eye out for that. And I will turn it over to Nadia.
So you guys you did get into the upcoming Teachers Institutes where these workshops are going to be held. So thank you for that. But where can listeners find more information about TSTM Essentials?
So we have a brand new website, and we will link that in the comments for you. And so you can check out everything we've got and more information about the different components that we're going to be offering and how they're going to be broken down.
Yes, more information will be in the comments. And it would be good for listeners to just be able to get an idea before they sign up. Honestly, you guys have gave us more ideas than I'm sure the website has. Just what's the expectation? But just more information is always important. So we just have we're getting close to our wrap up here.
All right. So what are some takeaways that you can expect if you participate in the TSTM Essentials activities?
One of the things that I think practitioners can take away, or participants can take away from TSTM, is they will realize that their instruction is a lot more intentional. I know that is what I realized once I was participating, is I became more intentional about what I was teaching. I wasn't just teaching for an exam or an MSG gain or whatever I needed, for a program to grow, which is definitely important. I'm not saying it's not important, but I became more intentional about what I was teaching and the why behind it. Why am I teaching this? Is it just to get them in and out of the door? Or am I wanting them to kind of go further and actually grow as a person? And I think a couple of people that I've talked to, it's been transformative in that way, is that it brings that intentional aspect back to why they're teaching and why they are doing what they're doing.
yeah, definitely. And if anyone's wondering, what are the learning objectives or the concrete things, you're going to learn about different approaches, such as problem-based and project-based, which we talked about. You're going to get an understanding of the central skills, which we mentioned kind of briefly are what could be considered soft skills. You'll learn a bit about what are 5 topics that are considered as part of the TSTM methodology. So digital literacy is one of them, health literacy. Those are some examples. So those are the things you'll come out of this with, and you'll be able to also use the resources that are part of TSTM. And even if you don't use all those resources right away, you'll at least know that they're there and that you can use them. So those are some of the concrete things. And then, yeah, I really like what Mariah said about just how it can transform your instruction.
Great. Thank you. Rebecca, I think you had something to add.
I don't know if I need to add anything because they did such a great job, but I think one thing I would say is TSTM is fundamentally, Essentials or the whole entire structure is fundamentally about student engagement. So as an instructor, one of the things you're taking away from this is new strategies for engaging your learners that are very relevant to their real lives apart from the classroom and within the classroom. So I think Nina had mentioned earlier in the conversation that when you're an instructor, you go to a professional learning session, your first thing is, what am I getting here that works on Monday? And I do think you're getting some student engagement strategies that will work on Monday.
Excellent. And this really does go right into that last question, because again, you've talked about this a lot. All of you have TSTM is transformative. So what do these changes mean for professional learning in New Mexico?
I think that there's a couple different things that you can take away from it. One, Nadia had spoken about this a little bit, and I think it's very true. It's the underlying sense of respect for the instructors in the classroom already. We want to help you grow your practice, but we also believe, and Mariah really reinforced this for us when we were talking about what is the mission of TSTM, that instructors are good, and what we would like to do is facilitate for you so that you can also be great.
We want to acknowledge that, our instructors, they know what they're doing. They're very competent, but there's always growth. There's always a way that things can be changed. And so we want to take the skills and the ability that instructors have, that practitioners have throughout the state, and just give them one more resource, one more component that will help take their lessons from good to great and greatest, because that's what teaching is. That's what education is. It's a constant learning system. And we want to recognize that. And we try to, I know I try to, and I have to remember, it's, our instructors in the AE field are great. We have some wonderful instructors, but there's always growth. There's growth for anyone, any program. Once we stop growing, then we've done ourselves a disservice. We've done anyone who's around us, whoever we're impacting, we've done them a disservice if we refuse to grow anymore. So that's what we want to do, is we want to give them an opportunity for growth.
I think that is a great way to end this episode. Opportunities for growth. So I want to thank the TSTM team for being here and talking about what they do. Thank you guys so much. I feel like we all work together in different ways and run into each other at conferences and hang out. But I do feel like I got to know you a little better after this conversation. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Yes,
Your
thank
passion.
you so much.
Thank
you.
Your passion speaks volumes. Absolutely.
Connect with Adult Ed, the NMEA podcast, is a project of the Propel Professional Learning System and is funded by the New Mexico Higher Education Department's Adult Education Division. Thank you for listening.